I talked about a couple of things when I knocked on doors. First of all, I talked about education and what we would do for the Normandy School District, and we talked about economic development. And from an economic development perspective, we talked about what we wanted to do in this area to make the 71st House District a regional leader for new development and for economic development opportunities. And to that degree, we've had some successes. Express Scripts has decided to open up a whole new branch, a paper mail branch. So when the fall comes, Express Scripts will have 500 new jobs, 500 new community members right here in our district. And all that has happened since I've been in office. And if I serve not another day in office, we'll consider that a success in economic development. Also on the economic development side, I've made sure that as the brownfield tax credits and the low-income housing tax credits have come to fruition, that first of all, not only we've preserved those tax credits, but we've drafted those laws to make sure that the 71st District is specifically eligible to receive tax credits, so that when banks open up and credit opens up and banks and loaners start lending again, this area will be attractive to businesses to come to set up, to build new low-income housing in the areas that support low-income housing, and it will be a place friendly to new jobs and new development right here in this area. So I will also always consider that a success in economic development, even if I never serve another day in the Missouri House. And finally, on the economic development side, we've sat down, I've spent many, many hours having beers with, building relationships with the people who are the decision makers in the economic development institutions of this city. The bankers, the money lenders, the construction professionals, and we have made sure that those relationships are there so that when the credit and the markets open back up, this will be the regional leader and this will be the area that people want to relocate to and want to set up shop in. So I talked about economic development, and while we haven't seen tremendous results, the groundwork is there and the foundation is there. And if I never serve another day in the Missouri House, I'll consider that we have laid some successes in economic development for this area, like I said I would do when I knocked on your doors. And secondly, I talked a whole lot, if I remember correctly, and if you remember correctly, when I knocked on your doors, I talked a lot about the Normandy School District. And I talked about ideas about what we could do for the school district to make sure that it would be the type of world-class institution so that we weren't bound to send our kids to the private schools in the area. And I talked about a couple of things. I realized that not only are there teachers and administrators in the Normandy School District who are working hard and who want to do the best for our students, but we have some societal issues here in the 71st District that are outside of the school that we have to address. So we have to be able to support families and support students who want to do well, even if they're in a struggling school district. So I found a program in St. Louis City based in the Matthews Dickey Boys Club called Reach Out St. Louis. And what it does is it engages ordinary citizens, like so many of you all who volunteered to help, and law enforcement, local law enforcement and local government actors, and local churches to put their arms around the most vulnerable of kids. And my dad was tremendously helpful in that. And what the goal is to reach out and put our arms around the most vulnerable kids, those who are in targeted areas where they're about to drop out of school, and reach out to them and let them know that they don't have to drop out, that there are alternatives to dropping out, and that the community cares about them and that specific individuals care about them and want to support them if they want to work hard and finish their education here in the Normandy schools. Reach Out St. Louis has been a success, and it will be in the Normandy School District for at least the next 2 years. And I'll consider that a success even in the educational areas, even if I never serve another day in the Missouri House. Now, the second thing I did, I should say, in the public education area, is I realized that one of the indicators for success in Missouri, for success of a public school district, is college acceptance rates. But statistics kind of lie, because right here in the Normandy district, all of our kids aren't necessarily on a college track. And college doesn't necessarily mean that you're successful or not. So for a lot of our kids, I realized that it's not about going to college, but it's about productive citizenship. So what are we doing here in the Normandy School District to make sure that we're producing responsible, productive citizens? To that end, I saw that all of the kids coming out of Normandy either A, didn't want to go to college, or didn't have the opportunities to go to college. But as my parents always told me, if you don't go to college, you will do something. So I called the local carpenters union down on Hampton and 44, South City boys, great guys. And I said, you know what, if you guys really want to get engaged, if you all really want to find something to do to better this community, then come out to Normandy School District. Dr. Stanton Lawrence and I, Dr. John Gall, who is the Director of Education and Workforce Development for the Carpenters, and myself have sat down several hours over the last 4 months. And in the fall, I'm very proud to say that there will be the juniors of the class of 2013 in the fall will be in the Normandy Carpenters Apprenticeship Program, and they will graduate as licensed carpenters apprentices. They will have that program available. That program will be available to them starting their junior year for every student at Normandy High School. And even if the carpentry jobs and the building trades jobs aren't available for them as they graduate, those students will graduate with a trade that nobody can ever take away from them. They will graduate with a skill that nobody can ever take away. We planned this. That nobody can ever take away from them. And if I don't serve another day in the house, then I'll consider that a success. So I went to Jefferson City in January of 2009, deciding that I would spend my time focused on economic development and public education here in the 71st District. But I guess God laughs at our best laid plans, and a funny thing happened on the way to the Capitol, if you will. And there came up an issue that we as a community had to deal with, and elected officials had to take some of our time from other capacities and begin to direct some attention to. And I'm very, very proud to report that despite the presence of some very bad actors who had bad intentions for our neighborhood, a community stood up, a community decided that it wouldn't take place on their watch, and a community ran some bad people out of town. And that I will always consider a success, even if I never say it. Now, details aside from that whole situation, I think most of you all know for the most part what we're talking about. Details aside, there are some very, very difficult decisions to be made in the days ahead and the months ahead. There are some hills yet to climb. But for the most part, we have won. And for the most part, we have won by acting as a community and acting together. That will be a success, and that is something for this community to be proud of for a long time to come. So you all should definitely give yourselves a round of applause, because our jobs as attorneys were easier because a community decided to get engaged and a community decided that they would not be taken advantage of. So please give yourselves a round of applause. So I still believe in the idea of a community. I was raised in Belnor. I live right next door to my parents right now. And the fire district fiasco was probably a really bad, and it was a really polarizing thing. Not probably, it was. But it was good because it showed me that when we want to, a community can become engaged. And we still live in a community, we still live in a neighborhood full of people who know each other, who are concerned about each other, and who want to work for the greater good. My prayer and my humble request of all of you all is please don't let the fire district be the last thing that we become engaged about. Amen. I've always said it's not the most important issue in the district. It is the most visible issue, unfortunately, but it's by no means the most important issue. The most important issues that we still face, we will continue to face long after the fire district thing is completely solved. What are we going to do about the Normandy School District as we're losing jobs and not being able to afford to send our kids to private schools? What are we going to do to stabilize property tax rates as our communities age and we become more and more of a fixed income community? What are we going to do to make sure that our municipalities are not speaking as 23 disjointed voices, but have a unified voice as we approach the county council to get our fair share of civic and municipal services? These are the things that we need to make sure that we continue to be engaged about. I still believe in the concept of a community because I've seen it. And I'm asking that you all not believe in me, but believe in my ability to help bring the community together and to engage us on the most important things. And that's why I'm running for state senate. It will be very, very difficult. I'm in a 5-way, all-Democratic primary. I'm running against folks who are older than me, have more name recognition than me, have more political experience than me, and will certainly, very likely, have more money and resources than me. But I have a community, and I still believe in you all. And a community trumps all of that. So I'm asking you all to stand up for me one more time. Thank you all very much.